Thank you for clicking on my presentation on why old school RuneScape shouldn't work, but does anyway. Well, what do I mean when I say that old school RuneScape shouldn't work? I mean, by every modern MMO standard, old school RuneScape should not exist. Grinding in old school RuneScape is long and repetitive and is also the basis of the entire game. Whether it's fishing thousands of lobsters, chopping trees, or making campfires, or mining ores, a lot of progression takes significant time and patience. Open world PvP is another issue. If a player dies in the wrong place at the wrong time, they can lose hours upon hours of progress, which would be unacceptable in most modern MMOs that avoid the risk. Then there is the economy, which is completely player driven and could easily descend into chaos, and has descended into chaos sometimes, yet it functions mostly well. And finally, OSRS offers minimal handholding. I mean, unless you're me and you use Quest Helper with the shortest path, because dum there are no quest helpers and no constant guidance. There's no big quests. Well, there are quests, but there's no main story you have to do. Modern design would call this unfriendly to new players. Yet people not only stick around, they thrive. By all logic, this game should not work. But the numbers do not lie. OSRS is not just surviving, it is thriving. Last month, it reached nearly 200,000 concurrent players, and player counts are rising, not falling, even decades after launch. Engagement spans casual logins to maxed out accounts. People who have been playing for over a decade are still invested, and new players are still joining. I don't think you understand how insane this is. This defies not just a typical MMO lifecycle pattern, but any game lifecycle pattern, right? The older a game gets, theoretically, the lower players it should have. The young player base that it has grew up and simply just don't have enough time to play the game anymore. Not OSRS. The player count has increased. Can we talk about how insane that is? A game that is 24 years old, nearly a quarter of a century old, older than me, older than my friends that play RuneScape, is gaining players. These numbers show that OSRS is doing something right that modern design and logic cannot explain, and I'm here to show the reasons why. Well, the first reason is player-based updates. Updates in old school RuneScape are dictated by player polls. The community votes on content before it is implemented, ensuring that unpopular updates never disrupt the game. Examples of an unpopular update that disrupted a game would be the Shadowlands expansion for World of Warcraft. This gives players a sense of ownership and loyalty over the game. The system creates a feedback loop where players are invested not only in playing, but in shaping the game world. That is a level of player agency that is extremely rare in modern MMOs and is central to why OSRS works. When your vote is a direct impact on how the game that you play is updated and developed, well then, you're going to play the game more. For my second reason, accessibility. OSRS is accessible on both PC and mobile devices. It is easy to start and flexible in how it can be played. Players can log in for short sessions or spend hours grinding skills or fighting bosses. There is no pressure to play for a set amount of time. There are no dailies or weeklies or instance content that you have to do every certain time, and no resets or wipes to worry about. This flexibility hits that beautiful niche of both casual players and older players who cannot commit long hours to playing a video game, and hardcore players that lean younger sometimes who enjoy marathon sessions of old school RuneScape, making OSRS appealing across a wide spectrum of playstyles. Additionally, anything can run old school RuneScape. I'm pretty sure that my 3DS could run old school RuneScape. A DS could run old school RuneScape. The system requirements are bottom of the barrel, especially if you're not using any mods. More importantly, the third reason is horizontal progression and slow vertical progression. What does this mean? OSRS has both horizontal and vertical progression. Horizontal progression means that instead of increasing the amount of power that's in the game, they add more ways to express power in the game. What does this mean? Well, new skills being released. Sailing was one of them, yes? And vertical progression exists in the form of very slow power creep. This means that both casual and hardcore players find meaningful progression regardless of how much time they have invested. Skills, quests, and items are added over time, but nothing negates the value of what players earned years ago. There's never going to be a new expansion or elite or an inventory reset of old school RuneScape that just completely invalidate all old content. This combination keeps the game relevant for both new players wanting to get into the game and long-term players who are maybe tired of other MMOs constantly resetting their progress through league resets or new expansions that wipe all character progress. And I think that is the biggest strength of old school RuneScape, which is its permanence. In OSRS, stats, items, and achievements are permanent. There are no resets or wipes unless you opt in. Every sword earned and every level grinded remains meaningful for years. This creates long-term loyalty. Players invest time knowing that their progress will not disappear. Example, the Ancestral set is one of the best, if not the best, magic equipment in the game. This set is nearly a decade old. This sense of permanence is rare in modern MMOs, and is a critical factor in why OSRS has sustained a dedicated player base for, well, decades. You can do your progress in the game, and you know that your progress will be where it's at. You're not going to get reset. There's not going to be a new expansion you have to pay for. There's not going to be this, and there's not going to be that. And finally, the reason that OSRS still is dominant today is its own dominance. It recursively feeds its own players. OSRS dominates its niche. There is no direct competitor that combines grind, PvP, player-driven updates, and community involvement in the same way. Eidolon, Legends of I don't know, that doesn't have a PvP or a real social game, I guess. Albion may be seen as close to it, but there's no quests in that game. Old School RuneScape's writing is very good. Attempts to replicate OSRS often feel like weaker imitations. Its longevity reinforces its dominance, and the cultural impact extends beyond the game itself. Memes, YouTube content, and community influence keep OSRS relevant and top of mind for both old and new players. Old School RuneScape will always stay in the cultural zeitgeist of the internet, and that's why it's going to live forever. So, what can we learn? The lessons from OSRS are clear. Know your niche and serve it better than anybody else. Make progression meaningful and reward patience. Give players agency over the game and let them shape the world. Grind and risk can be strengths if designed well. Permanence beats resets for long-term engagements. OSRS proves that a game can break conventional design rules and still thrive if it understands its players. OSRS works when other MMOs fail because it understands its players better than anyone else, and never compromises on what makes it unique. The combination of grind, risk, permanence, and community control has created a game that is not only surviving, but growing decades after launch. This is why there will never be another OSRS. Thank you for watching.